It's race day here at Spielberg, and the drivers are making their final preparations down on the grid before lights out. Look around, it's a spectacular setting, and I'm sure today's race will do it justice. So Spielberg is one of the shortest laps on the F2 calendar, just 10 corners, 7 right and 3 left. Look out for the uphill braking zone into turn 3. That represents one of the better opportunities to overtake. Also turn 4 straight afterwards, and then the next one being all the way back round to turn 1. As usual, I'm joined by our good friend Davide Valsecchi as we soak up the dramatic scenery. Do you think the drama will continue onto the track today, Davide?
Ciao Alex, I think we can guarantee that. Austria has always been a track that encourages the driver to overtake and attack. But it's a low grip surface. The drivers out there today will have to make sure that the tiny mistakes don't end up hurting them later in the race.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm back here with another lovely F2 video. Austria today, the sprint race. If you haven't watched the last video, go and watch that, of course being qualifying before I spawn it for you guys. But we are starting P10 after pole in quali for the sprint race, the top 10 reverse, which means we start at the back of the top 10 with work to do if we want to get into the points, of course, that being the top 8. The strategy-wise, we'll go through it first. An absolute no-brainer, hards. There's going to be a lot of wear on the hards by the end of it. Certainly quicker, though, to go for that one-stop strategy. You can't use softs because they're going to be dead halfway through the race. High chances of a puncture if you try to go 14 laps on them. So it will be the hards here at quite a warm Spielberg. 21 degrees in the air, 38 degrees on track. A sunny day for hopefully what will be a sunny race. But 14 laps on the hards. You guys might realise I have a bit of sore throat. Bit funny. Not COVID or anything, but so if I do sound a little bit weird today, that's probably because of that. But we are going to have a look at the grid order, refresh ourselves with the results of quali now, before we get into some racing action from P10 as Robert Schwartz from this lovely Prima car. What will be the 5th race of this F2 season, out of 10 races, of course, each track having 2, a sprint and a feature. As always then, the grid rundown before we get into any racing action. And it was certainly an interesting qualifying, of course. The top 10 reversed from quali, which means that Christian Lundgaard sits on pole with Guan Yu Zhou alongside. Those two have had a terrible season so far, languishing around P16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21... 22, languishing around there, and they have not had a good season. Lundgaard and Zhou still yet to score. This is their chance, and I thought those two would definitely be getting up there. Really did. Thought they'd be getting up for maybe a title fight, those two, and so far this season they've been pretty underwhelming. You know, they've had bad results, they've had unlucky results, they've just had pretty much poor results with no pace, and hopefully this is the turnaround for them. They need to take good results here in the sprint race, and there's pretty much no chance for them in the championship. Because after the sprint race, we're halfway through the races, of course. One more feature race than sprint race, which does mean, of course, slightly more points still to be won. But we have had a quali. So a pretty, nearly equal. Nearly equal. Of course, 4 points given to the fastest lap. But those two starting P1 or 2, it's their chance for redemption. Tictum hasn't had a great start to the season. I wasn't expecting him to be fighting for the championship, but I thought he'd definitely take some points. This is his chance for redemption, and also something for Carlin. And then the first team to have 2 cars is Poucher's ART, his teammate P1. Poucher's been really consistent this season. He's the highest place of the title fighters. He's really been great in the sprint races, which has meant that although he's just taken solid results in the feature races, he's really up there. And potentially in with a shout at the top 5 by the end of the season, he certainly is around there now. And I think he can stay there, the young Frenchman. P4 on the grid for him, looking to continue his good form. Vips has had an okay season so far too. Not quite as great as Poucher, but he'll be looking for some solid, more solid results, along with Armstrong from Dams. Then the 4 of us fighting for pole. Piastri, P7 on the grid. Of course, these 4 flipped, which does mean that our teammate starts ahead of Viscar, our championship rival. Sato and ourselves. Top 8 only get points. So we can have a lot of work to do against very similar paced cars if we want to get points. It should be an absolute cracker here, this championship battle. Starting to unfold. We've got quite a lead, but it's very easy for it to slip. Let's not forget we have a DNF potentially in a feature race, and Viscount wins. The whole gap is plummeting down there, so it's not that big of a gap, trust me. Jehan Deruvala for Carlin P11. He'll be looking to get some points. Probably not today, probably the feature race, of course, you know. Top 8 today for points, top 10 for points in the feature race. He'll be looking for some of them to join his teammate Tictum, of course. They nearly scored some points last time out at Imola, but were really unlucky. Drugovic, finally, up from languishing at the bottom of the field. He'll be looking for some points, potentially. Bit of a shout for today, but nice to see him a bit further up the grid like his teammate. Liam Lawson and Lorenzo Zendelli have had great results so far this season. At least Zendelli has had decent results, really. Bit of a shame for them, P13 and 14. A bit of recovery to do. Samaya, not too bad a result considering his form recently. P15 ahead of his teammate. One of the first times this season. Then Jack Aitken for HWA Race Lab. Similar for him, ahead of his teammate. Nissany not really going that fantastically. Beckman and Fittipaldi, let's not forget Fittipaldi, fighting a bit for the top 5 in the championship, and he is just down the grid behind his teammate, and looks like he won't be taking any points this weekend. That could be pivotal. You don't want to drift away in this one. Beckman's been solid around the top 10. Poor quality for him. He's got a lot of work to do. Then Boschung, and then Deleda also. I think he's P3 in the championship. That won't last long if he remains P21 in HWA Race Lab's car with Verschaw, P22, another driver who's had some really decent results this season. You know, we've got Verschaw, Deleda, Fittipaldi, Beckman, all the way down there in the bottom 1, 2, 5 cars, and they're all drivers who are capable of being in the top 10, some of them fighting for top 5. So there's a lot of working up the order to do for some drivers, but a lot of redemption to do for the likes of Lundgaard and Zhou. Plus, we're going to be a massive battle with our teammate and the 2 Trident cars. Before we get into the racing, if you guys enjoying the content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, totally free, but helps me out if you haven't already. But let's get into some racing action here for what should be a fantastic race at Spielberg. Here we go then for the first of 2 times in Austria. 5 red lights. They're out and away we go here in the F2 cars. It's a good start for Sato and okay start for Viscal, not for my teammate, as we're going to try and send it up the inside line of Viscal here. A little bit of a risky one into turn 1. Got to be aggressive on the throttle on the exit. We're a bit too aggressive, and now Piastri behind with Sato side by side with Bent Viscal heading up to the hard braking zone of turn 3. And we are down the inside line, but we've got to keep it nice and clean here. Armstrong versus Vips in front, ourselves versus Viscal, and we're up to P7. A great start for us as Armstrong and Vips carry it down to turn 4 here. They're thinking about a move. Armstrong sends it down the inside line of Vips. That could leave him a bit vulnerable to us as Tictum is behind the 2 ART cars, because that Pouchet on the podium with his teammate Lundgaard, but Zhou is now up there into P1 off the start. What a start for him. We nearly take a bit of the auto spin curb. In fact, we do, and we nearly get a bit shaky through this section. But what a good start for Guan Yu Zhou. That's exactly what he needs to get his title fight underway, because he's well out of it at the moment. He's forced to take evasive action so we don't go into the back of Vips at the end of this lap here. Guan Yu Zhou goes quickest, leading the race, 1 at 22.7. That will be thrashed in this one, of course. It's just the first lap. We don't get any DRS until lap number 3. Not too long around a short track, but a great start for us. And P7 ahead of Viscal, Piastri and Sato. As always, the race replay, the race start, of course, ourselves starting P10. It was a good one for us. You can see Tictum actually got away well. Guan Yu Zhou and Lundgaard heading down to turn 1. Zhou down the inside line, got the move done. We slammed it down the inside line of our rival. You can see in front Tictum versus Pouchet. Pouchet just about stays ahead. Then we try to dash down the inside line of Bent Viscal up to turn 3 in front. Yori Vips behind Armstrong. You can see the Gulf pack behind. Meanwhile, my teammate Oscar Piastri is sat behind, side by side in front between Armstrong and Vips, and it is looking very close between those two. As you can see, we stay ahead of Viscal, then Armstrong just about stays ahead of Yuri Vips in this one. Just about Vips in that lovely Red Bull as Drugovic gets in front of Larim Zendelli behind. Let's take a little bit of a closer look. There you go. Felipe Drugovic ahead of Larim Zendelli. We are going to have a quick look at a replay of another driver a bit closer up to see their start. Well, this could be a pivotal race for Guan Yu Zhou, and on board with him off the start, in terms of a lift, it was pretty good actually once he'd got that traction. Got ahead of Lundgaard actually before the braking zone, nicely put it into the first corner. Lundgaard tried to go around the outside line, and by golly, did he, but better traction for Guan Yu Zhou and the Chineseman up to P1. A fantastic start for him there, going nicely, shuts the door, up into turn 3, stays P1, and that is an important one here. He hasn't had a great season so far, and this is certainly a pivotal race for him, and he is certainly proving that he can compete, and he needs to continue to do that as we see it more centrally in terms of his cam heading through sector 2. It will be, as I said, a pivotal race for him. Not a good start to the season, however, he can salvage it with a win here in the sprint race and try to get a good result from, I think, P9 it'll be in the feature next time. Well, later on lap number 2 here, and Vips is literally sat in front of us at the moment. I couldn't say anything else, we're right on the back of him. In fact, he's slowing us down a teeny little bit. We've got a bit more pace, we're getting away from Viscal and our teammate here. Zhou goes quickest, and DRS is enabled to be able to use that up to the hard braking zone of turn 3. You can see it's popping up on our screen because you literally get it now just on the exit of the corner. Vips is going to have it too to get onto the back of Armstrong, who sits in front. Zhou still leads, Ticktum still 4th here as we chase up to turn 3. Don't collide with Vips, which is always a good thing, and that has actually helped though Viscal to get back up to us as Vips starts to get away. DRS once again, but we're going to have a bit of a train here in Austria. Well, Guan Yu Zhou, then Lundgaard goes quickest. We have gone quicker round the outside line maybe of Yuri Vips up into the first corner, and we are flying here. Bent Viscal and Piastri pretty close behind, but Vips is just going to stick it out down the inside line as we head up to turn 3. We're going to have a look down the inside line here, and we're forced to back off. He's steaming in, locks up. Yellow flags are out. I don't know if someone is off. Someone is off, and someone having a mechanical, and it's a Trident. And it is Sato out of the session. What a shame for him as we lock up very heavily there. That's dropped us back to Viscal. Oh, it was looking so great for Trident this weekend. That might dampen them a little bit. Bit better to have it now, though, than in the feature race when they're towards the front. Certainly we're wanting to get some good points. It's looking like our Team Prima are going to be comfortably winning as we... Back there did get a little bit shaky, but what a shame for Sato. It looked like he just sort of pulled off a bit and was going slowly, so it must have been a mechanical. We are flying through the final sector, and Vips is locking up here. We're chasing him. A lot of tyre wear for lap 4 as we head on to the 5th. Purple in the final sector as we send it down the inside line into the first corner. Chop him off. Slam the door shut. You can see the gap to Armstrong. He's catching up to Ticktum. We're up the order as behind Vips versus Viscal. Viscal certainly trying not to lose any points to us this weekend, and you can see by him trying to fight Vips a bit, can't get the move done. We're going to stay, yep, a mechanical for Sato. We're up to P6 with the fastest lap. Points are looking fantastic here. Well, this lap, we've had an absolute stunner of a lap. 1 minute 18.372. We are going like it's quali. We have bridged the gap to these boys. We've got DRS in 1 lap. We are flying, and I'm sure Viscal's got the pace. I know he has, but he's stuck behind Vips, and as we've seen, It isn't easy to overtake here at Austria in these F2 cars at times because the DRS straights are so short. You've got to be right on the back of them. You can see Viscal could be following us through, and he has got that pace, but Vips is slow. He's struggling. He's dropping away, and we are catching up to the group with Armstrong, Tickdom, Poucher, Lundgaard, and the leader in that lovely Alpine livery, Wan Yu Zhou, the Chinese driver, going pretty nicely. We are using a lot of tyres here by lap 16. A little bit worrying. We'll certainly need to conserve them a little bit more to get to the end of the race, but Vips is holding up Viscal even more. And now, Armstrong in front is certainly looking like he is not as quick, maybe, as Tickdom and Poucher. It is a DRS train here, really. And that is the thing about it. It's all about the exit off the final corner. We've gone for it. Down the inside line of Armstrong. This is a charge and a half. We've gone quickest again.
Keep this up.
But no purple sectors in there. So has someone else hooked together purple sectors? Everyone crosses the line. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. But yeah, pretty solid. P5 now. Tickdom right on the back of Theo Poucher. Seems to be a bit of a sprint race man here as we go a little bit wide, and that is going to back invite Armstrong as there was a touch. That was my fault. And Armstrong back up into P5. That is costly for ourselves in this one. We made that mistake and it has put us back down a position. Tickdom starts to get away in front out of DRS. And as we head towards the halfway point, virtually there, could hamper us a little bit as we charge towards the front few. A podium, however, still on as we chase down Armstrong. He's certainly not as quick as those in front. Don't think that little tap we had with him helped. That was entirely my fault. Accept full responsibility for that. But he's a lot slower through this Sector 3. This is where we have the pace a lot of the time compared to the AI. Now we can go for the throttle off the final corner, exactly where we went for the move last lap, and it is going to be the same here on Armstrong as Tickdom begins to get away. We pull away from Armstrong, get the move done. There will be no DRS down this straight. That's going to help Tickdom. However, Armstrong has a chunk of DRS. He'll be chasing us down here. I would like the inside line, mate, so I'll have the inside line. You have the outside line. It's going to be pretty comfortable on the run up to turn 3. And oh, he did get a little bit too aggressive with us there. Tapped a little bit, and Armstrong drops back down to P6 us comfortably there. Vips still ahead of Viscal. Well, our incredible charge continues. We have got it here today in this F2 series. We are cruising. Tickdom now as we go purple in Sector 1, our fastest lap. Absolutely astounding. We've got it here. We have got it. Vips actually isn't dropping that far back. Armstrong certainly is, and I really do feel as if, you know, my teammate Viscal have got the pace this weekend. They're just not being able to show it because they're stuck behind Vips. We're not having much problem overtaking, you know. The AI are just going to go for the same every lap, try to optimise the lap, not think about maybe going for the exit off a corner as much. They might do it a couple of times, but they're not going to be like thinking, right, okay, if I focus just on the exit here, we're going to be going nicely. But Tickdom in front, in the car in P4, we're chasing 14 laps in this one. We're coming towards the end of lap number 9. Don't particularly want to send it down the inside line here, but we might even try, and we do actually try side by side through this section. Never thought I'd try this, but that is P4 if we can keep it on Tickdom. And now I can see 2 ART cars in front. We are absolutely flying here. Absolutely flying as we head up into the first corner. A huge lock-up on exit, on entry there. Don't know what that was. Cost a little bit of time. But P4, come on, with the fastest lap. Absolutely flying up the order. We're going nicely once again this lap as we're forced to take it a little bit wider there to avoid Poucher. Not really getting the lines I want through here, but now we can attack it off the final corner, chasing the young French driver. Purple in Sector 2, a little bit slower in Sector 3 with that lock-up. The tyre's starting to go a little bit. We're feeling the effects. This time we don't absolutely lock up into turn 1 and lose time, but we are chasing down Poucher. We're getting closer to him. Lundgaard sits in front. Then the Alpine livery of Wan Yu Zhou. Armstrong has dropped onto the back of Vips. Meanwhile, Trident's only driver in this one, Viscal, and my teammate are still sat back there, stuck behind Vips in a sense. I'm sure they might have the pace. I really do think they could compete with this in terms of pace, but they just haven't managed to clear Vips. And it is difficult to overtake here. It is possible though, and we have shown that. Tictum is staying with us. He has the pace. He really does have the pace. We haven't seen that yet this season, and I'm enjoying this. 4 drivers for the win, and we're actually pretty evenly matched. I think we've got a bit more pace than Poucher at the moment, but a podium would feel fantastic, you know. We came from P10 to P3 at Bahrain. Did most of the work on lap 1 though. This will feel so much more rewarding if we can do it now. 14 lap race, gaining a bit each lap, a bit more each lap sort of thing. And it will feel so rewarding. And now Poucher, I'm sorry Tio to try and take the podium from you, but this is what we've been waiting for. Over the line, onto lap 12. Manage your tyres, Jeff. I ain't doing any of that today. We are pushing, and that is the podium position. P10 to P3. Lap number 12 now. 3 laps to go. I mean, I wouldn't mind hunting down a bit of Lundgaard as behind. The Carliner Tictum has a little think about it on Poucher, and that is actually very, very close back there. And Tictum takes P4, but then it's Poucher, and you can see at the top of the screen the fight between them rages on. It's going to be decided into turn 3, and it is Poucher who looks to stay ahead, and he does. Poucher stays P4, and we're on the podium. On to the last lap we head, the penultimate one here, lap number 13. We've gone quickest in the middle sector, despite a scrappy first one. Tictum might have taken damage in that battle with Poucher, because he's dropped back to that train and he's really backing it up. But on to the final lap we go. Guan Yu Zhou leads, and he leads comfortably. We go quickest, 1 minute 17.7. Around the outside line, Lundgaard maybe? Around the outside line, that would be very tasty. And that's exactly what we do. Nicely dispatched. Come on. This is some incredible driving. P2 here. Zhou set to win the Austrian GP in these lovely FAA Formula 2 cars. It is going to be the Univirtuoso Alpine. Just going to nicely finish this lap as Juri Vips versus Armstrong. Armstrong stays ahead. ART will be P3 here. Bit of a shame for them, considering they had 2 on the podium at one point. But Guan Yu Zhou hasn't scored yet this season, I don't think. Or if he has, he hasn't scored much at all. Certainly has struggled. And now it's his time. Guan Yu Zhou's time to take points. He's going to do it in style with his first win of the season here in the sprint race. A well-deserving winner. I mean, really, we don't have the pace to match him at all at the moment. We really don't. Poucher not dropping too far away at the moment, actually. He's still got decent pace, so has Lundgaard. But we are going to finish the race P2. Guan Yu Zhou wins in the Univirtuoso. Well, before we get to the podiums, I've got to show you this. Dan Tictum, I think, might have a little bit of damage here on that front wing. Certainly has got a problem, and that is costing him. As you can see, he's just flying down the order, and now Marcus Armstrong is going to take P5, a mad mass lap, and that is Marcus up to P5. Tictum, despite struggling, is going to fight it up the hill. You've got Trident versus my teammate. Is Schwartzman going to try and send it? I don't know, but Dan Tictum's losing out to Piastri, Vips. Oh dear, he's side by side with Piastri is in front. It's Juri Vips versus Marcus Armstrong. These two continue to fight. The Red Bull livery down the inside line into turn 4. Gets the move done. Meanwhile, behind, my teammate Oscar Piastri dispatches Tictum down into the final points position. And Bent Viscal sits right behind him. Mad action here on the final lap. Viscal's going to try and push him all the way to the end of this one. Tictum clearly struggling already, dropping far adrift from Oscar Piastri, and he is leading the next position by barely anything, and that is going to be a Bent Viscal send down the inside line, and that is the move done. P8 for Viscal. What a fantastic move, and what a fantastic lap. A real shame for Dan Tictum, though, losing all of those positions here.
A great win then for the Uni Virtuosi team today. And Davide Valsecchi, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
I think they kept a cool head. That's why they won today. Smooth, steady, everything bad that happened to them, they handled it calmly and professionally. That's what let them focus on getting the best out of everything else. The car, the strategy, they managed to keep out of trouble the whole way round.
I'm thoroughly exhausted after the excitement of the race, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to our drivers here. They've worked hard to make it up there, and it's great to see them make their way out onto the podium.
Well, I only have 2 words for this race. Absolute domination. We certainly didn't win, but we finished second by 2/10 from P10 on the grid. I mean, I really didn't think I had that in me. That was a performance I wasn't expecting. Really, did we have absolutely incredible pace? Yeah, we did. We had really good pace. 1 minute 17.7, a really good lap. We were actually 5/10 quicker on our best lap than Zhou, and that is a lot. But let's not forget that Oscar Piastri back there, 118.257, 118.201 for Viscal, and at times he was stuck there in traffic. I really do feel like Viscal today, Piastri today, maybe, yeah, probably Viscal, Piastri, those two, you know, they could have got a good result. They really could have got a good result had they managed to dispatch Armstrong. Vips, had they managed to get past them, then they would have been able to get a good result today. And really, because of that DRS trains, we were allowed to just fly up the order, getting great overtakes, up to P2 from P10 on the grid. The fastest lap, 14 points here in Spielberg. But the winner, and rightfully the winner, Zhou, the Chinese driver for Uni Virtuosi Racing, second on the grid to first. He got it done at the start, and he just drove beautifully. He dominated, didn't have to scrap. He just drove fantastically. It was incredible to watch, really. It really was incredible to watch. You know, he just drove fantastically, really. Consistently, 15 points, and a very deserving result there for him. Lundgaard, P3 from P1, could have been a lot more. Only 10 points today, could have been 15 or 12, but overall, a good result for the Danishman. It's a good result, considering his results so far this season. It isn't that bad. We would have been hoping for a bit more, but P3 at the flag, not too shabby. With a podium position for ART, with his teammate Thieu Pouchet, P4, start at P4, finish at P4. Solid result for Pouchet again in the sprint races. That should keep him comfortably in the championship fight. Vips started P5, stayed P5, so did Armstrong. Solid results for them today. Oscar Piastri also started P7, finished P7, same for Ben Viscal. This sort of train that formed with Vips, Armstrong, Piastri, Viscal, you know, we came through that, but Dan Ticktum dropped down that, so, you know, it was a bit of a dismal race for those guys, you know, Viscal, Piastri, Armstrong, Vips. The only action really was first lap, last lap, you know. For the other 12 laps, Vips was literally leading a train, and Armstrong dropped down behind Vips, of course, and just led a train, and that continued. They led a train, and for those guys, like, to be honest, not much really happened. Ticktum, real shame for him. He was really doing very solidly. Yes, he dropped down to P4 off the start, but then managed to fight it a little bit. You know, of course, when we got past him, he dropped down to P5. He then fought with Pouchet, not Lundgaard. Pouchet a bit later on. A real shame for him to have that problem and then fly down the order. It could have been a great result for Carlin, but no points today. So close, because Daruvala also just outside the points in P10. A solid result for him considering his recent results, but bit of a shame. Drugovic with a solid result, P11. That will be morale boosting with his teammate winning today. Zendelli and Aitken moved up the order. Aiken gained 3 places, a solid one, in a race where the DRS train dominates. Lawson down to P14, bit of a race to forget for him, with Samaya remaining P15 for one of his best results of the season. Beckman gained 2 places, pretty much stayed stationary for most of the race. Nissany P17 for Dams, with Fittipaldi making his way up a place. Boschung and then Deleda gaining a place along with Verschoor. Verschoor, the last of those finishers, but really, Fittipaldi, Beckman, Deleda, Verschoor didn't make the progress needed to make, and they're going to be dropping away in the championship. Sato sadly DNF with a mechanical failure. A real shame for him not to make it to the end of the race. It could have been promising, but his focus definitely will be when he starts in a very tasty position. Of course, I think it's P2 for the feature race. Your standings look like this. We continue to lead with a lead of 36 points. Vent Viscal certainly not getting many points today, means that we have a 36-point lead. We're looking very comfortable now in the championship. Poucher up to P3, 47 off the lead, 36 points in total. He is going fantastically well at the moment, getting great consistent results. He's moved ahead of Deleda, who suddenly won't be gaining anything in the feature race with him being so far back down the field for HWA Race Lab. He has 34 points. Fittipaldi for Cheru Racing System has 30, the exact same as my teammate Oscar Piastri. Of course, those two equal on points after today's race. Piastri certainly will have the upper hand, of course, with a good starting position of P4 for the feature. Richard Verschoor, disappointing result today, remains on 27 points. Liam Lawson remains on 21. Yuri Vips moves up to P9 with 20 points. Beckman down to P10 with 1 less. Zendelli has 1 less than that. Beckman and Zendelli, the 2 German drivers, really, as what's looking like a race weekend to forget, separated by 1 point. Guan Yu Zhou takes all 15 of his 15 points here today, jumps him up to P12. He'll be looking for something decent this season, if he can just get some form and try to carry it up maybe into the top 10. Christian Lundgaard also takes points for the first time today, his first 10 of the season, all at once. Danish driver moves up to P13 in the standings, however still 26 points away from his teammate Tio. And then Marcus Armstrong, the last of those to score points. He has 8, the rest still yet to score. That is, of course, Jehan Daruvla, Marino Salto, Jack Aitken, Dan Ticktum, Roy Nissany, Felipe Drugovic, Guilherme Samaya, and Ralph Boschung. In terms of your team standings, Prima lead by 66 points, 113 points on the table. We lead by more points than Trident have. It's looking extremely dominant, cruising away with the team standings. Trident, of course, P2, best of the rest. Now, pretty surprising, actually, when you think about it maybe a little bit. I mean, they've got Viscal scoring great points. Sato still yet to score. All 47 of their points from one driver. They're going to struggle to take the team's championship on the podium P2. You know, they might drop down to P3, but 47 points at the moment. They have 1 point over ART Grand Prix. Of course, they are very much helped by having Lundgaard and Poucher scoring. And then 1 point behind MP Motorsport. Those guys had a bit of a race to forget today. Dropped down the order to P4, but you can see P2 to P4 extremely close. High Tech Grand Prix P5 with 41. Close there too. HW Race Lab also dropped down the order. 34 points for them. 4 points behind Sharu Racing System. You know, in terms of the guys who are still in it, those guys are sort of still in it. Campos Racing only have 19. Virtuosi with 4 less. Dams have 8. And Carlin, the only of the 11 teams, still yet to score, with Guan Yu Zhou getting his team off the mark. What a race there. Domination from Guan Yu Zhou, and probably my best F2 race so far of the season. P10 to P2, plus the fastest lap. Absolute domination in 14 laps. I'd call it beautiful driving. Thoroughly enjoyed it. If you guys have enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But I'll catch you guys sometime soon.